Hey guys, and welcome to the first episode of How I Take Notes mini-series here on YouTube. In today's video, we'll be talking about my note-taking process and the methods that I use for note-taking, and most importantly, the pros and cons of each method so that you can find the best note-taking method for you. Now, there are going to be 3 more videos this week in this series. In the first one, we'll be talking about how I take notes from my textbook. Then I'll show you how I use my iPad Pro for note-taking. And then in the final third video, I'll give you my top 10 tips for note-taking so you can level up your notes. So make sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you guys don't miss out. And with that being said, let's get into the video. So the first step in my note-taking process starts before the lecture or the class, and I make an outline for the chapter on my laptop. So essentially, I use the typing method. And what I'll do is I'll open up my textbook, and then I'll read through the text paragraph by paragraph, and then I will summarize the most important information and type that on my laptop. Essentially, just how you'd normally take notes. Now, you may ask, why would you do this, Ellen? Well, the first reason is because during the lecture, I want to focus on understanding the lecture instead of trying to write down everything that the professor is saying. And this really helps me to understand better and memorize more. And secondly, because I'm familiar with the basics of the topic, it's easier to understand complicated concepts during the lecture because those are the only new things that I'm learning on the lecture. Typing my notes before the lecture has been a game changer for me and has really helped me minimize the amount of hours that I spend studying because I end up understanding things better and memorizing more. Now let's get into the pros and cons of typing your notes. So one of the biggest pros and advantages is that typing can be a lot faster than manually handwriting your notes, which is great if you have lecturers or professors who talk way too fast, or if you just want to minimize the amount of time you spend on note-taking. Secondly, if you're typing your notes, you don't have to deal with your ugly handwriting if you have one. I'm personally not one of those study YouTubers who have a handwriting that looks like a font. In fact, mine is really ugly, and sometimes I'm not even able to understand what I've written, so typing your notes completely solves that problem for me. Another huge advantage is that your notes are searchable, unlike paper notes where you have to go through every single page to find certain terms. You can easily just input the term and see every single note where you've actually used that term. Another factor is that my notes are quite light because I don't have to carry around a few notebooks and a few binders. Everything is in my laptop. And also, my notes are accessible everywhere, which means I can easily revise using my phone on the go, which is amazing. Now let's talk about the disadvantages. One of them is that it requires good typing speed, and if you don't have one, you'll just end up with a collection of random letters that don't make any sense, so definitely make sure that you will be able to keep up with your lectures with your typing speed. The second con is that it's actually full of distractions. You can easily just, with one click, access the internet, go on YouTube, watch Netflix, whatever you guys do on the internet, and that's not exactly great for studying. Another disadvantage is for some subjects, typing your notes isn't really efficient, and that's mostly for subjects that are heavily based on math because finding symbols and things like that is super hard on the keyboard. Moving on to the second step in my note-taking process, which is during class or the lecture, and that is when I add extra information provided by the professor to my notes. For this, I actually use my iPad, so this is where I digitally handwrite my notes. I'll open up the same application where I have all of my notes typed, and then I'll add extra information, annotate my notes. Also, this is great because I'm able to easily differentiate between the information provided by my professor and the information that I got from my textbook. Also, another thing that I always make sure to do during lectures is highlighting words or terms that the professor is really emphasizing because later they always come up on tests and you want to be prepared. Now, let's talk about the pros and cons of taking notes on your iPad or tablet with a stylus. So the first advantage is that digital flexibility is your friend. You're able to move your notes around, recolor things, you're able to resize things. It's just so flexible, you can easily erase your mistakes, and it's just the undo button itself is a huge thing. Another thing is that your notes are extremely light. Your tablet is probably going to weigh less than a normal notebook, and that is the only thing you have in your backpack. However, all of these advantages come with a cost, a really big one in fact, because having an iPad with an Apple Pencil can cost a lot of money, and sometimes you also have to pay extra for note-taking applications, which is even worse. Another con is that if you're still in high school and you have picky professors, some of them may not like technology in the classroom and may in fact disallow it. I've had something like this happen to me, and I was shocked that some people still live in the 20th century. Moving on to the third step of my note-taking process, which happens after class, and I like to make a summary sheet for each chapter so that later when I'm revising for tests or exams, I don't have to go through all of my notes, and instead I can just quickly revise all the information. So I have a little template for this. Here you guys can see I put a heading and then a subheading. I use bullet points and little arrows for examples. I write terms with colored pens and draw boxes around formulas and add as many doodles or diagrams as possible, and sometimes even add a small summary. Sometimes I also like to add margins for questions, extra information, and examples. Making summary sheets has changed my life as a student because I'm able to revise for tests and exams 2 times faster. Now let's get into the pros and cons of taking notes on paper. One of the biggest advantages is that it's quite inexpensive because you only have to buy a notebook and a pen. However, over the years the cost adds up and probably costs more than an iPad. Secondly, when you're writing everything down by hand, you're actually processing the information. There was a study done and it proved that when you're typing your notes, you're memorizing a lot less compared to when you're handwriting them by hand. Another factor is that you have focused study sessions because you can't exactly tap on the paper or on your notebook and get into YouTube or start watching Netflix. However, if you have your phone around you, you're kind of back to square one. Moving over onto the cons, one of them is that you're collecting notebooks, textbooks, binders, and in the end it ends up being super wasteful, and if you decide to keep them, they will require a ton of space in your room. Moreover, you don't have any digital flexibility. You cannot undo things, resize things, erase things, and that just makes things a lot harder. In this day and age, for me, it feels really natural to be able to do those things, so going back to paper notes has been a pretty hard process for me. And one of the biggest disadvantages is that you're not able to search through your notes. Well, you are, but you have to go page by page looking through the information, which is why a lot of students prefer Google over referring back to their notes. Because you've made it to the very end of this video, I have a surprise for you, and that is a giveaway. Yes, you'll be able to win every single thing that you see in this picture, including a study planner, 20 different colors of my liners, a pencil case filled with stationery, and some other cute things. The giveaway is over on my MNO, so if you don't have this app already, I'll put the link in the description box so you guys can download it. On there you can join different communities like K-pop or studying and find people who have the same interests as you who can inspire you. So for the rules of the giveaway, first you need to follow my MNO and turn on your post notifications. And then secondly, you need to like the MNO story about the giveaway and comment your favorite color down below in the comments of the story. And you'll find more details about it in the story itself. So make sure to check it out. Before we wrap up this video, make sure to let me know in the comments down below if you guys type your notes or if you handwrite them, if you write them on paper or on your iPad. Let me know your note-taking process down below in the comments. Also, subscribe and turn on your notifications if you want to see the 3 episodes that will be following this video, and I'll see you guys super soon with another video. Bye!